everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am just getting home from a family dinner today. We had an early Mother's Day lunch because some of the family is not going to be available next weekend, and we wanted to make sure to get everybody together. So I actually just got back from that, and I am just kind of, I don't know, I'm feeling a little stumped on this cabinet situation. It is just kind of a catch-all, and I've got stuff sitting around just kind of cluttery. I've got 3 vintage quilts that I was gifted from my grandma just this past week that were passed down from her mom. And some of these quilts are as old as from the early 1940s. So these quilts absolutely mean the world to me. I feel so honored that my grandma gifted them to me. And so what I'm wanting to do is, as I've got these quilts sitting here and I'm wanting to display them. But I really have nowhere. I have racked my brain. I already have another quilt rack in my living room, and it is packed because that quilt rack has blankets from my Nana, who was my great grandma on my mom's side. And then I also have some quilts from my husband's grandma in there. So I'm really stumped and limited on the space that I have for these blankets. So I'm wanting to, I think, clean out this cabinet here to the right. Right now, I just have extra canned goods and food items in there. And then I also have this cabinet that's just kind of a catch-all. I have, you know, my air fryer, my toaster, my microwave, and then I've got, you know, a waffle iron and a crock pot in here. So I'm thinking I want to combine the cabinets. I'm going to do the canned goods in this cabinet, move all of that over here into this cabinet. And then I'm going to use this cabinet over here more in the dining area to display my quilts. So I'm going to fold them really neatly and just let them, you know, be featured right here. And I think that'll be a beautiful way to showcase the quilts and also keep them up out of the way. I don't want anything happening to them. You know, they are almost 100 years old. I don't want them getting, you know, dirty or torn or, you know, just something happening. I've got 3 little boys and, you know, stuff just happens. So I do want to display the quilts, but I think this is a great way to keep them up and out of the way, you know, in the efforts to help preserve them. So first things first, I'm going to tidy up this cabinet. I had already kind of started. I moved everything off of this top cabinet here just a few minutes ago, and I'm wiping everything down really good and just sanitizing and dusting everything. I need to continue on down. And then once I kind of organize this area, I have a storage cabinet in this room adjacent to me right now. That's just got a hodgepodge of things in it. And I think I want to combine those items in here. For instance, like extra light bulbs, things like that, that I want readily available. I've kind of just, over the last several months, just stuck stuff everywhere. And there's really no rhyme or reason. And a lot of it's just hodgepodge all over the house in different areas now. And I would like to combine those and basically condense those items now. And just kind of tidy up these cabinets. And once again, that will include this cabinet over here where the quilts are at. So I'm so thankful that you guys are here. I appreciate the support. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'm really wanting to get back in the swings of things and to grow my channel. And you liking or commenting or subscribing just boosts this video so that it can reach more people. And it's absolutely free to you. It doesn't cost anything. So if you would do that, I would appreciate that so much. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and let's just get to it. Hi. Guys are thrown a little bit if you see me with like bags of baking soda. This cabinet was a Facebook Market find, and it came with 2 other small like bookshelf displays. And this is, I paid next to nothing for this and the 2 matching bookshelves that go with this cabinet, and I absolutely love it. However, the home that it was in, it was stored in like a garage area, and they must have smoked in that that garage. So, and if you smoke, more power to you. But I personally don't want the smoky smell in my house. So this has been a great way. Baking soda is a great way to eliminate odors. So I have a bag on the upper portion of the cabinet and then also on the lower portion of the cabinet, and it has helped tremendously with the smoke smell. So anyway, I'm going to rinse out my rag, put some more cleaner on it, and then start transferring stuff out of the living room storage cabinet. And if y'all are watching this and you're like, why does she have so many cabinets? It's because this house was built 50 or so years ago by my husband's grandparents. After they unfortunately passed away, the house would have sat empty. So my husband and I purchased the house and the acreage that came with it. And years ago, the home was added onto over the years. So there's some of the rooms that are now like bedrooms or areas that would normally have built-in storage. They don't, because the original rooms were not like bedrooms or rooms that would have necessarily needed a closet. So with that being said, 2 of my boys share a room. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. I have 3 little boys. We would love to, in the future, build on an extra bedroom or finish the basement, at a later date down the road when that's feasible. But for now, our 2 boys share a bedroom, and then our oldest has his own room. And we're just really tight on storage. The house is not small by any means, but a lot of these rooms just don't have closets or storage. So a way that I've kind of worked around that is I get really neat, like, cabinetry or shelving units that allow me to kind of store stuff away and kind of solve that storage problem that I have, which is why I have this cabinet over here and have been using it for canned goods, because I'm just limited as far as storage goes in the kitchen, and I don't have a pantry. So I just have made the most of it, and it's worked just fine. But after so many months or even years of having things a certain way, I just have to kind of do what I'm doing now, and that's kind of go in and rework the space and just kind of condense things and make it work more efficiently for me. So anyway, I am going to rinse out this rag and then start moving stuff in from the living room cabinet and kind of just condense and work on that space as well. If you guys Okay, I think I've got the few items that I had in the cabinet in the living room moved in here that I wanted more readily available. There wasn't very many things. It was simply literally just some light bulbs and then this like nebulizer. So I just kind of did a quick little cabinet refresh in there. It really didn't need a whole lot. And now I'm going to work on moving the canned goods in here in the bottom of this shelf. So go ahead and get started. As I've kind of started going through this cabinet over here, I'm realizing I may have some expired canned goods and stuff that has kind of just been shuffled to the back. So really quick, I'm going to sort through what I already have grocery wise in this lower portion of the cabinet, because I will still use that for food items, but I need to kind of condense and reorganize that, because some of the items that are in the upper portion where I want to display my quilts, some of those items, as long as I can organize and kind of condense down on the bottom portion, a lot of those can go down there instead of having to be moved over here. So I'm going to do that really quick, and then what is left is what I will delegate over to here, and then I can get back to the fun part, which is putting my quilts in this cabinet for display. Okay, now that I've kind of gone through the cabinets, I'm thinking I'm going to need this shelf that I actually had brought other items in from the other cabinet for. I'm going to have to move all of that back and kind of rework that cabinet a little bit differently, because there are food items that I obviously would want more readily available and that need to be easily accessible. And obviously I would rather them be in here than in the living room. So as nice as it would be to keep all of these little items in here as well, the more I'm moving stuff over there in that food cabinet, the more I'm realizing I'm not going to have enough space to condense the upper portion, which is bigger and has 3 shelves as opposed to 2. I'm not going to have the space to put everything in the top down into the bottom section, even after eliminating quite a bit of space, well, clearing up a lot of space because of eliminating a lot of expired canned goods. And unfortunately, there were quite a few expired canned goods. So anyway, I'm going to have to kind of reconfigure all of this because, yeah, I just don't have enough room to work with right now. So we're gonna have to reconfigure some things and move some of these items back into the living room. But luckily I did just wipe that cabinet down and move things around. So there's plenty of space in there for these items. You know, I just can't keep them in here, unfortunately, readily available, because I need to put food items in here. So that's what I'm gonna do. right, guys, here is the final product of the organization between the cabinets. I have this cabinet done. It's not perfect by any means, but it does all make sense where I ended up putting everything. So I have a lot of kitchen appliances here. And then these are things that I use almost daily. I, will make a pot of tea or something, and I always keep my sugar handy. I also use the baking soda a lot. And then, of course, I have extra seasonings that don't fit in my cabinetry by the stove. So I just keep like a lot of my seasoning packets here in these Lazy Susans. So those are readily available still. And then I just have some snacky stuff or some overflow food as far as like extra pastas, stuff like that, that my boys like to eat for lunch, or, obviously stuff that I use to make dinners with. So this cabinet has been wiped out and organized, and that's about as good as it's going to get. So we will move on now to the quilts and getting those over here and get situated in this cabinet. If you hear noise in the background, it's just my boys. They're getting themselves a snack from the kitchen area. So this is one of the quilts that my grandma gifted me just this past week. And something that I love about the quilts that she's done is she has stitched in the name of the quilt design, and then she also has details of where it was quilted and then the year that it was quilted. For instance, my great grandma Clara made this quilt in the early 1960s. So, and the design on this particular quilt is called a sawtooth. I've got to figure out how I need to fold these so that you can see I want you to see the edging, but also they need to be folded to where they're not spilling out of this cabinet. This cabinet's pretty shallow, so I'm gonna have to fiddle with this for a minute and figure it out. okay, my quilts that were gifted to me this past week by my grandma, as I'd mentioned earlier, all have information on them, like the year they were quilted and who quilted them. So I wanted to make sure that that was displayed because I think that's a really neat part of the quilts. So it took quite a bit of finagling. I was not expecting it to take that long to literally fold some quilts and display them, but they had to be folded just right so that the corner that I needed to kind of pull out to show the stitching, they had to be folded just a certain way. So anyway, my husband helped me, and so we've got them folded to where you can, if you step back, and I'll show you guys here in just a minute, but if you step back, then you can see a lot of the patterns on the quilt, and then the stitching with all the information about the quilt can be seen now. So I think that's a really neat part of the quilt, and I hate for it to just get folded up and for that to not be able to be viewed. So now in an ideal world, would I fold them like this to display them? If they did not have this stitching, no, I would just do a basic fold and then tuck them in here. But this allows them for you to see the pattern, and then it explains the pattern, and then of course, like I said, who made it and the year that they were made. So this particular quilt is called a spider newspaper quilt, and this one was made by my great grandma in the early 1940s. And then this was called the Lone Star quilt, and it was made by my great aunt Mint, or my great great aunt Mint, and it was made in 1944. And then it was sent to my great grandma when they lived in Tacoma, Washington. And then this particular quilt here is called a sawtooth patterned quilt, and it was made in Missouri, and this one was made in 1960. So this is the older of the three quilts. And actually, a couple of my other sisters also went and were able to pick out quilts for their kids. That's why I got three, is my grandma gifted one for each of my boys for me to pass down to them someday. So my sisters, I've got one sister who's got two kiddos, and then my other sister has a son. And so they were able to pick out, quilts for their kids. And my sister Kinsey, the quilt she picked out for her little boy, it's actually from the 1930s. So some of these quilts are almost, especially that one, I mean, they're 80, 90, almost 100 years old in most instances. So anyway, I just feel really blessed and privileged that my grandma wanted to gift us these. I am a quilt person regardless. I love quilts, and I have several displayed, like I said earlier, in my living room, of basically heirloom quilts that have been passed on from family members on both my husband's side and on my side of the family. So anyway, this project wasn't huge, but it was something I had been avoiding for basically the entire week. I knew I would have to kind of move some of these cabinets around to make this work. But today I just decided to go ahead and get it tackled and done. Tomorrow is Sunday, and then obviously the week ahead of us is going to be pretty busy. So I'm really glad I got this done, and I have these quilts where they're going to be appreciated and will be able to be seen on a daily basis, and which means a lot to me. So. I am also going to include some footage in here of my family and I taking a plane ride just here recently. My husband's cousin is a pilot, so he normally flies, private, or he flies, like jets, and usually he is international. So he has gotten himself a plane and is just storing it here, probably not even 10 minutes away, and in the local small airport. So he had called us and wanted us to come over and take us on a ride. And so we did that, I don't know, probably a month or so ago. I rode with, it's a smaller plane, so I rode with one of my sons, and then my husband rode with my other two sons. So we got to ride in like a small plane for the very first time. You know, we've flown, you know, commercially for vacations or, you know, trips, stuff like that. So this was a whole other ball game and a smaller plane. So I will include some of that footage here. We even got footage of us flying over our family farm. So that was really neat to see, you know, from, you know, a greater distance. So I'll include that. And then I also have some footage from a trip to Nashville that we took recently. So anyway, I will throw that in this video as well. And I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you again so much for spending some time with me here today. I hope y'all enjoyed this little cabinet switcheroo, and then obviously getting kind of a little backstory on these quilts here that have been in my family now for almost 100 years. So thank you so much for your time. And as I mentioned before, if you have not subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate that so much. I really would love to grow my community here. And once again, it is free for you to do so. It doesn't cost a thing to subscribe. And then you'll be able to see when I post other videos. I should come up then on your feed. And then also you can like this video and comment on it if you want to. And let me know if you'll have something in your family that you guys love that's considered like an heirloom, or things that you have been passed down, or things that you plan to pass down to your family. So I would love to hear all about it. And yeah, thank you again so much for being here. I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and I will see y'all in the next one.